Well, I'm at one of my favorite body shops, and this is where I actually take my own car when it needs to be worked on. And open at 6 in the morning, and the guys are already working. I like shops like this. I like shops where they're so busy, the guys could start working at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're always that busy. That is a sign of a pretty damn good shop most of the time. There are guys who do a lot of advertising to get new customers in because they're such a bad shop. Their customers don't come back, and their customers don't recommend other shops or other customers to the shop. And the only way they stay busy is by advertising and flyers and radio ads and networking in churches and on the little league teams and stuff like that, because they have no clientele who keeps coming back, so they're always looking for new clientele. Then you have shops that are so good that generation after generation keep coming back, and they recommend family members, and they have to do no advertising. Different types of shops. I wonder why. But I'm at a good one who I like very much. And yeah, I'm at the end of pulling out refrigerant out here. This was actually all filled with liquid refrigerant. So when I was doing this vacuum, and as you can see, I'm all the way down into the micron level pulling out refrigerant. Refrigerant, when it gets cold, will migrate to the lowest point in a system. So on a condenser, down here in these bottom tubes will be filled up with liquid refrigerant. Up here will be vapor. So last night the temperature in the daytime was in the 60s, and last night the temperature dipped down into the 40s. And so as this vehicle got cold, as that naturally happens, the refrigerant went down to all the lowest points. So down here, and you see how this hose goes upwards, and it's up high here. And then right here the hose goes, it goes upward a little bit before it curls down again. So this was completely filled with liquid, and when I start to remove and recover the refrigerant out, it drops the pressure in the system. And like on a propane tank on a barbecue, when you can see the line of frost when it gets cold, and you can see where the level of the liquid propane is in the tank, same thing happened here. Right about here, just where you see my finger making that mark on the condensation because it got so cold, and right about here at the same level, all this frosted up and turned white and snowy because this was filled just at this point with liquid refrigerant. So when I dropped the pressure, it froze up right here. And this is what happens every time you shut off an AC system, and if it was a warm day and night is really cold, refrigerant will drop to the lowest points. And that's why there was a particular, remember, it was a Honda, was it a Honda CRV or a Honda something that had a scroll compressor, and they had a problem with refrigerant migrating, coming back to the compressor, turning it into a liquid in the compressor and at the low side hose. So when it turned on, it would hydrolock, and it would blow the side of the case, the size of a silver dollar, a hole right in the side of the case, because they tried to compress liquid when the compressor would engage. And that was a common problem for that one vehicle. There was a couple others, but that was one particular vehicle that was very common that had a problem where refrigerant liquid slugging would come back to the compressor. What else can I say? That's about it. It's let's see, where are we holding at? Okay, did you see that we were down in the micron level before, and now we're down to -13 because it's so cold outside. And what size is this system? Where's the sticker on this? I don't know how much refrigerant's in it. It's not a dual evaporator system, so it can't be that big, much refrigerant. So you see our vacuum, we're losing our vacuum, or we're losing our vacuum because the refrigerant that's a liquid still trapped inside the oil where it was cold is bubbling out like CO2 in a Coca-Cola. And you can see it still go down. This means there's still a lot of refrigerant trapped inside the oil. So I turn it on some more and keep repeating this process until it holds and it doesn't go on. Now, the factory machines that you buy, the new machines with the new EPA standards, they only got to go down to -15, and they hold at a -15 vacuum to prove that you got all the refrigerant out. And that's all they do. But I go all the way down into the micron level. I like to get a lot more out. And with the new machines, you can actually be at -15. But if you're in a shop that's not heated and you're doing a recovery like on a car you can't start because it was in front of an accident and maybe a coolant line, or for some reason you can't start it, you have a cold car in a cold shop and it's only like 27 degrees out, it's winter time right now, and you're in a part of the country where it's really cold, you can go to beyond -15 vacuum. And because the refrigerant lines are so cold, the refrigerant that you have trapped in a liquid form underneath the oil on the cold metal parts will stay below -15 for the recommended amount of time. Presumably, you have all the refrigerant out according to a piece of paper, but actually in reality you do not. Because of the ambient temperature being so cold and you drew it under a vacuum, it will stay at below -15 within the allotted amount of time, and there'll still be a few ounces of refrigerant trapped inside the system. That is the flaw behind that method. But they had to make compromises when coming up with the EPA rules and the SAE rules of what the equipment can do, because they're trying to keep it as cheap and easy and fast as possible for the market, because they're cheap, easy, fast type of people who want to sell a product, and the industry doesn't want to put up with taking a long time. All right, guys, I'll see you later, and off to the next one.